Welcome to episode 37 of Behind the Shield. Today we are joined by head swim coach Eric Rasmussen. Hello again, everybody. Scott Guys joining you for another episode of Behind the Shield. Today we talked to Coach about what he did during quarantine. He said he enjoyed it a little too much, what it's like having the kids back, and what he's looking forward to for the 2021 swim season. So after this commercial break, we'll come back with Coach Eric Rasmussen.
You've probably heard a lot about changes on campus, about how classes will look a little different, or how the dining hall will be set up like it was last year. You may have heard we'll be living with a new normal. But the truth is, at York College of Pennsylvania, normal has never been our thing. If by normal you mean predictable, usual, commonplace, average, that's not us. Our normal is extraordinary, exceptional, remarkable. Our normal is about taking responsibility, thinking of others, and treating people with respect. Here, normal means being compassionate. It means protecting the person next to us to ensure safety and good health for all of us, because we know we're in this together. For us, wearing masks and social distancing aren't really a new normal. They're just another example of what's always been important to us. Joining efforts to find real solutions to achieve our goals, to help our community thrive, and to show that we care. That's not a new normal. That's our normal, and we are grateful that you're a part of it. Welcome home, Spartans.
Welcome back to episode 37 of Behind the Shield. We are joined today by head swim coach Eric Rasmussen. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Scott. This is awesome.
Well, I'm glad you got the time. We've kind of cycled through everybody. I'm like, wait a second, we haven't gotten Eric yet. We got to get him on the show. So happy that you're able to join us today.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So let's start off a little bit. What have you been doing over quarantine? Obviously, your season really wasn't affected last year, but now the effect has begun this year. What have you been doing the last 6-7 months?
Well, like I said, we were very lucky last year. We had just finished up our conference meet. Fortunately or unfortunately, I guess we didn't have any national qualifiers. And then at the end of the day, the NCAA obviously, postponed all those championships. So it didn't really affect us at all, which was great. I don't know. I'll make a little joke out of it. I think the first 2 or 3 weeks were weird when we were all home sitting in our houses looking around going, what are we doing here? Why am I here? And then for about 2 months, I think, at least for me, it was great. I was like, this is awesome. Working from home, get up as early as you want, do some work, walk the dog, go back, do some more work. It was awesome. And then by the end of it, it was total cabin fever. I was just looking for a way to crawl out a window and get back to the pool. So, it was exciting when we got the word to come back in August. And, obviously we're really happy to be here. I was ecstatic to walk back on campus. So that's, just trying to keep up with, I think all the coaches are the same way. I think we're all trying to keep up with the recruiting and keep that rolling. I try to look at the bright side of things. Obviously this is a devastating situation for the country and whatnot, but you got to find something good in it. And now all of a sudden we had all this time to just work on recruiting and planning and networking and things like that. I think it's, in that respect, that was a real good thing for us. So.
How has this affected your recruiting? Clearly, in a season, in a springtime where you would normally recruit, right, you weren't able to do that. How has that had an effect on your recruiting, not only for this year, but years forward?
Sure. Well, I think that you have to find the opportunities, and now obviously with Zoom and all these things that are going on, a lot of video releases. Here at the college, we have a number of great video clips that admissions and the administration have shared with us, and we can send out to kids and stuff like that. I actually think it broadens our horizon a little bit, because the expectation that once was, I got to get on that campus to look around and see what it's all about. We've kind of changed that narrative a little bit by saying, hey, we can send you all these great videos. You can see the whole thing. When we were really locked down, when most of the country was locked down, let's say 2 or 3 months ago, people weren't able to travel anyway or get on these campuses, regardless. So having that opportunity, I think it actually helps a little bit. I think it spreads your message a little deeper and a little further. Obviously here in Pennsylvania, that's our, mainstay. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland are a big, if you look at our demographics of the college population, just as students, that's where kids come from. So now all of a sudden it's easy to go to a kid in Chicago or Florida or Texas and say, hey, here we are, look at these videos. Don't worry about coming on campus, because nobody's coming on campus right now. So I think it's I think it's a little bit of an opportunity. I mean, obviously, it's got to be used correctly, but I think it's an opportunity.
So in swimming, a lot of it's times. Is it easier for you because you necessarily don't have to go watch a kid swim to know what type of swimmer they are?
That is true in a sense, but one of the things that you're always looking for is this opportunity, and I learned this from a few of my mentors years back, is you're always looking for that kid who can improve. So just based on raw times, and the kids will strive it. The kids, at this level of time, they're looking at D1, top 10 or top 20 school. And then, you come down the rail and hopefully you make a connection academically that some kid wants what you have. Obviously, there's kids that could go D1 that still go D3 in some of the, a place like a Kenyon or an Emory or top swimming schools in D3. And, those kids will come down to the D3 level, but it is very striated. But the thing you're always looking for is where's that kid that's going to be great someday? I just tell a quick little story. I went to a Y state championship meet probably about 5-6 years ago. I was coaching a Y team at the time, and there was a kid, and he was just right in the middle of the pack. Let's say there were 100 kids swimming his event. He was 50th, and you would have never noticed him in a meet result. But the kid was 6'6" and towered over everybody in the pool and was a skinny little boy at 6'6". And you're thinking, I can't remember his name now, but he probably went on. If he stayed in swimming, he might have gone on and did something great. And you take those chances. You find kids like that, and you say, "Wow, I'm going to invest some time in that, or some effort in that. Find it, see if that kid will come and swim on your team." So seeing them is good. Yes, you can go a lot on times, but I love to see them. And now again, with video, the recruiting services just send you tons of videos of kids. Every dad and mom out there is taking a video of their kid in a race. So you're starting to get a good feel for it. You can kind of see what's going on. It certainly helps, to that, again, spread your wings a little bit. There's kids in California that I could never, ever go and physically see them swim. So now I got a video of them. So. Yeah.
So we've had the kids back since the beginning of September, and you've gotten them in the pool a little bit. How has it been having them back? How has it been having them in the pool and getting some training in?
Well, up and down. I think one of the questions that we're going to talk about here in a little bit is how does it look in the 2021 season? Not knowing, right? We're going to talk about that in a minute. So that's been the challenge. So in my mind, I put together this seasonal plan. And then all of a sudden, we as swim coaches, at least in the MAC and a lot of the other conferences, are now, campaigning pretty heavily to move our seasons into the spring. So we've talked about it among the MAC coaches, and I know a lot of the other conferences have. Division I seems to be going full speed. They're going to try for it and just run their season normally. But like for us in the MAC, we had a conversation about 3 weeks ago of the MAC coaches. We had agreement with the MAC staff. And we think as long as the ADs, presidents, whoever say yes, we would like to run our season starting in January and have our championship in April. And for swimming, it's not as big a deal as some of the other sports because you don't have facility conflicts in swimming. We have the pool. This is where we are, and there isn't a lot of other groups that want to use it. Whereas if you were a soccer field and you had lacrosse and field hockey and soccer and everybody battling for a spot. So we're optimistic. Now, the downside is that the NCAA says they're not going to move any of the national championships. So our national championship is in March, and we're talking about running a season from January to April. So it's a little strange. And the coaches in the MAC feel like it's the best for the most, like 300 and something kids swimming in our conference, of which 2 or 3 may qualify for nationals in a given year. We have to do what's right for the most kids. So we expect to have, if this is all approved, we expect to have a phenomenal season. I think it could be one of our best seasons. The NCAA easing up a little bit on the regulations on the training weeks to count days now has given us that flexibility. So anyway, back to your original question. Sorry. We put them in the water probably about mid-September, and we were just doing an official day a week. And then the pool's open, the kids can come down and do some workouts on their own. And we expect it to kind of start ramping up and probably around the middle of October, and probably put in 4, maybe even 5 days a week until the Thanksgiving break. Be able to do a little hardcore training there, let the kids have the time off through Thanksgiving and Christmas, and get back on campus as early as we're allowed to in January to move forward from there. So that's kind of what our target is at this point. And, fingers crossed, that'll be the way it works out. So.
Is it hard for them to motivate it, even knowing that the plan is to swim in 2021?
Absolutely.
Is it hard to get them to go? Because I know, talk to some of our other coaches, and just trying to keep things fresh has been a challenge. How hard is it for your swimmers? Because let's face it, your kids swim all the time anyway,
Right.
but with nothing to look forward to in concrete, how hard has that been?
It has been, I'll be honest, it's been tough. I can see it in their eyes, and I haven't mandated anything right now up to this point in the fall. I mean, hopefully after the break, we're going to get back and we're going to have some mandated practices and we'll be a little bit more uniformed and a little bit more focused on it. But again, for the swimmers, this is the weirdest. I mean, the high school kids, if you're just swimming a high school season, you don't start until November. So that's not too bad. But the club swimmers, they were always swimming in September and October and moving through there. So for a lot of these kids, and most of our kids are club swimmers from high school, this is the weirdest year they've probably had in 10 years of their life since they were, a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old age group swimmer. It's just weird. I don't know how else to explain it. It's a strange feeling to not have to be here every day and going full bore in September. And they're antsy. They're like, we're losing time. Like, yeah, we're not really losing time. If we do our season like we say we're going to do it, you've got tons of time. And again, trying to look on the bright side, in a normal swim season, you've got interruptions, you've got Thanksgiving, you've got exams, you've got Christmas, you've got New Year's. These things all take chunks of time out of this, what you hope would be a consistent training pattern. If we get approved and we do it in the spring like we're hoping, we're pretty much a straight shot from the time we get in the pool in January all the way down to the championships in April. I think we have, an Easter break for a couple of days, and really that's about it. So from a training standpoint, the spring could be putting this into the spring could be an amazingly good year for us. So I'm excited about it. I hope the kids start feeling that fire pretty soon.
How much of an adjustment that'll be? Because you've talked about how they've had breaks in the past, and then all of a sudden now you're saying, hey, we're going to ram right through it in 4 months. How much of a change, and how much of a change will that take for you? Because you've been coaching for a long time and you're used to that segmented stuff. How hard will that be to adjust?
Absolutely. I think, actually, when I was doing our days of the week, days of the season or whatever, I actually computed a cycle where we would go like 3.5 weeks and take an extra, you always take Sunday off or whatever your day of the week you're taking off is. So one day a week you take off. And so I computed a cycle where we would probably take like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off every so often, just to kind of cycle it a little bit, give them a little bit of a breather. We'll put it on the calendar ahead of time so they see it. And it's like little mini breaks, little recovery breaks for them. Hey, I want to take a long weekend and get home or whatever. All right, there it is. It's March, whatever, or whatever the dates would be. So, I think, it will be a factor for them. So, but again, looking at swimming as the sport of consistency and kind of the long haul training, I think it could pay some benefits, pay some dividends as we go through.
So we're moving to the MAC this year. Obviously, a lot of people around here, we are all very excited about that. We just can't actually wait to compete. What does that mean for the swim program, the move to the MAC for you? Obviously, travel is a huge difference, but when you're going to have a championship meet that has 18 schools or however many schools there are, that's a pretty significant change for us.
A real different animal. So what I've seen from comparing the CAC to the MAC is that the top times are going to be about the same. The kid that wins this event, the 100 free, is going to go X time, and they were about the same level in both conferences. The difference is going to come in the depth of it. So in the CAC, it was just there were fewer teams, so there were fewer faster, and it just kind of trickled down. So as an example, the fastest boy in the 100 free goes 46 seconds, let's say, and the 16th place kid goes 53 seconds in the CAC. Maybe, I don't know, I don't remember the time exactly. But in the MAC, the fastest boy is going to go 46 seconds, but the 16th boy might go 49 seconds. It's going to be so compressed and so much more competitive, which is a great thing. I think that, it drives you to a higher level. We've had kids in past years that they sit there and they say, oh, my time is this, and at the CACs, I'm going to take this place, because they kind of know where they're going to fall into their event based on, and now it's not going to be that way. There's going to be, 16 guys battling it out within a second or two of each of these events. And it's going to matter how fast you're going to need your absolute best performances to finish the highest you possibly can. So that's exciting. I mean, competition is a great thing. And that's what drives people to greatness. Nobody gets great by being complacent. Nobody gets great by having somebody hand them, a ribbon or a first place. You've got to compete for it. You've got to fight for it. So I'm excited about it. I think, the other thing I'd say about the MAC is that, again, with this kind of, straight line across from, the Baltimore area up through Pennsylvania and a little bit over into New Jersey, it's an awesome recruiting dynamic for us. Like we're visible in front of the right people, I think. So I'm excited about that. I think that's going to be a good thing for us too.
Does that put a premium on depth? If you have quality depth in a meet is that big, does that pay dividends in a team score?
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to need everybody on your roster from the fastest down to the 18th. I think we score 18 people in the MAC, and in the CAC, I believe we scored 22 people. In other words, your roster size. So yeah, it's vital. The 16th, 17th, 18th fastest kid on your team's got to be pretty darn good and get it done. There's not going to be any room for just kind of hanging around or whatever, I guess. I don't know.
So looking at our team this year, our two teams, the men and women's,
yep.
What has you excited about this year for this group of young men and women?
So, this has been my third season on campus, and I think we've seen some incredible growth as a team as we've come along. We've had some great swimmers in the past. They've done amazing things. We have, Kyle a couple of years ago winning the 100 breaststroke at the national meet. That was a wonderful thing. Justine Justine, our backstroker, made nationals, first woman to make nationals 2 years ago. So we've had some exciting and great swimming. But what I see is this culture of our team developing. I think we're getting to the point where we're all kind of fighting that same battle, if that makes sense. Whereas I think when I came on board, that we were a little fragmented. People, there were some hardcore swimmers. There were people that maybe weren't as excited about it, and we just kind of were fitting it together, and it's fitting together much better now. So I see this growth, and I'm excited about it. I mean, I said to the kids last year, I said, this team is better than my first year, right? And they're like, oh man, 100%. And with the recruiting that we got in in the freshman class this year, and a couple of transfers, I think it's going to be an even better program than it was last year, and that's the ball that we're trying to roll now. I think it's about, for us. I think it's about making this cultural change. We want to make this change from good but into this kind of hardcore, very focused group, and I think that's we're moving in that direction. So. That's probably the most exciting for me. The most exciting part of it is this overall team development that we're seeing happening right now. So,
how important is that culture? Obviously, you have to be pretty motivated to get in the pool every day and just swim back and forth and back. I think it's hard for people that aren't swimmers to understand. Man, that's how do you do that? Is it a culture thing that not only the kids buy in, but then they're willing to put the work in as well?
Yeah, I hope there's no basketball or baseball coaches going to watch this thing. So, it's not fun. I have friends of mine who have been basketball coaches their whole lives, and it's like, all right, if I'm having a bad practice, I just get them out there and I play, 3-on-3 or 5-on-5 and just let them play a little bit. And we don't do that in swimming. You're really just training, and you stick your head underwater and you're not talking to anybody, and it's cold, or it's a weird environment. And again, thinking back to some of the people that I worked under in the years ago, one of the guys said, he goes, you don't choose swimming chooses you, and that was his line, and I kind of think it's right. I've had kids through the years who come from other sports and they go, yeah, I'm a great ice hockey player, and I swim down at the beach every summer or whatever, and they're like, I want to come out for the team. And 10 minutes later, they're like, how many times are you going to do that today? I go, about 150. And they go, thanks, coach. We'll see you later. I got to go. So it's a different animal. I can't even, I swam competitively in high school and a little bit in college, but I can't even identify what that mindset is that just drives you. I just think it's, I think it's something that for some people, I want to say comes naturally, like they just feel comfortable in that environment. And therefore, then if they've got the mental drive to do it and a little bit of physical talent on top of that, that's the kids that really excel at it. But you've just got to feel comfortable. You got to jump in that pool and say, I didn't feel comfortable out on the soccer field or on the basketball court. I feel comfortable here. This is the right place for me. And off you go. So they're different.
It is. But I also think one thing that also stands out among swimmers is how much out of the pool they spend together, because I think it seems like
Right.
it's a group of kids that are together a lot. Is that a really important facet of the team?
Yeah, I think that, and again, being one of those sports that probably aligns more with like a cross country or a track and field, first of all, you're not gender divided, and they've never been gender divided, so from the time these kids were swimming age groupers as 6 and unders at their country club in the summer, it was a team full of boys and girls, and they were swimming together, and they, your best friend might have been you might be a boy and your best friend might have been a girl, or whatever. You just have those relationships that make it a different kind of camaraderie, I think, and a different kind of environment that, sometimes the single gender sports don't feel the same about, or don't, it's just different for them. So, I think that it's a good thing. I mean, one of the things we've been working on a lot this fall and moving forward is kind of that identity of the individual teams, so again, we've been all together. We're the swim team. And this year, although we'll still do a lot of training together and a lot of things together, we're really trying to build that entity and that identity of like the women's swim team and the men's swim team. And I think that'll be really good. It'll be awesome for our women. So many times, when you're in that mixed gender thing, you might get overshadowed a little bit by a male or whatever. And now we're going to have that opportunity for our women to really excel, lead, express themselves. I'm excited about that. I'm excited for their just, personal development. So.
Well, we want to thank you for taking the time to join us. Certainly great to catch up with you. And I think, as we dive into some of these sports that maybe don't get as much publicity as some others, I think there's a lot of interesting things that go on within the dynamic of that group. And I think it's great to find out. So we're going to get to talk to Charlie later this week. And
that's going to be awesome.
Looking forward to get a chance to talk to him as well. So I want to thank you for joining us and look forward to getting to see you and the kids in the pool here not too much later, hopefully.
Hopefully soon. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Coach. We'd like to thank Coach for joining us. Certainly great to catch up with him and see what's going on down at the pool. A group of kids that don't always get the love that they deserve. It's been a very good program for York, and certainly looking to get even better as we head into the MAC. We'll be back later this week with Charlie Green, as the swimmer will give us a little bit of insight of what it's like to be part of the swim team, and as somebody who's very active on campus, give us a little lowdown of what it's like to be a Spartan swimmer and student athlete. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and go Spartans.